over here. Now, the sanctuary is a symbol of a timeline. Out here in the courtyard represents Jesus' time while he was on the earth, how he paid the price for sin. If you look into the Holy Most Holy Place as we were told, you will find it represents Jesus and what he did for us when we went back into heaven. So, Jesus came from heaven down to the earth, and the first thing he did for us is symbolized by the laver. What started off his ministry for us when he was on the earth?
Baptism.
His baptism. Do you know how old Jesus was?
30.
He was 30 years old. Now this is significant because he is our high priest, right? And if you study about the priests and when they began their ministry as priests in the sanctuary, they had to be 30 years old too. And what is interesting is that how they were dedicated for the priestly ministry was by being cleansed completely by the water in the laver. That laver, the dedication Jesus had for us is when he was baptized in the River Jordan. Now, did Jesus have sin that he needed a baptism? Was this a meaningless exercise? No. Who was he baptized for? To be an example to us. That represents that event in our history, part of the time. 3.5 years later, come to the altar to sacrifice. Jesus is in the Garden of Gethsemane, and he says, Lord, let this cup pass from me 3 times. And you know what else he said 3 times? Not my will, but thy will be done. In other words, that's when he gave himself up to be the sacrifice. Was Jesus the only man who ever died on a cross? No. So I want to submit this to you. Perhaps the sacrifice Jesus made for us was not him dying on the cross necessarily, but it was him receiving our sin. You see, what does sin create between God?
Separation.
A separation. Has anyone ever been so close to God the Father as Jesus was? Would anyone ever experience such a painful separation as Jesus did? That's the sacrifice he made for us. Being separated from his Father because of the guilt of our sin. That's why he was sweating drops of blood. Now, just like this lamb was killed on the north side of the sanctuary, after the Garden of Gethsemane, Jesus was taken outside of Jerusalem to the north side to a place called Golgotha, and there he died. Now, do you know how long Jesus hung on the cross? You read about it in Mark. It says he was put on the cross at 9 o'clock in the morning. And do you know when he died?
3 o'clock in the
3
morning.
o'clock in the afternoon. Do you know when the sanctuary service started? Which hour in the day?
Probably 3 o'clock.
It started at 9 o'clock in the morning with one sacrifice made for the entire nation of Israel by the high priest. Do you know when the sanctuary service was closed? 3 o'clock. So think about this. When the Lamb of God was put on a cross, that high priest was in the courtyard and he was offering up a sacrifice for the entire nation. 6 hours later, Jesus says, it is finished. He died, and the last lamb was to be killed for the entire nation of Israel. Who did Jesus die for? Everyone. The courtyard represents what Jesus came down to the earth to do for us. Sin has a price, and that price has been paid, but the process of getting rid of our sin has not yet been accomplished. The priest has to also go into the holy place. Let's go over